Bruce Wayne's greatest foe is Jim Gordon. We talk Batman number 19.
And we also talk X issue 0, Dark Horse's relaunch of one of their dark anti-hero vigilantes from the 90s.
And we get our IDW on with the Colonized Zombies vs. Aliens. Okay, so as you can tell, Dan is not here again, and instead we are joined by Dav from Mega City Comics. Dav, how are you, sir?
I'm very well, and thanks for having me on your show.
It is our pleasure, and we will dive straight into it with Batman number 19. As I alluded to in the intro, we get a story about, is Jim Gordon Bruce Wayne's greatest foe? And first off, can I just say, what? Why? Why are these a thing?
It's a gimmick!
And why is it all Superman? Like, why couldn't they do a Batman... let's put all the Batman books in here. Why Superman? I don't know.
Now, Man of Steel's coming up big, you know, they need to push it.
I know, but there's just better ways to go. It doesn't fit. This doesn't fit. Like, this is my comic. The point of the cover is you protect the inside of the book.
Yeah, you got the little cutaway bit where you're there thinking, oh, they skipped on the, no way.
Yes.
But to be perfectly fair, there's a very small part of me that actually enjoys the fold-out cover month.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like, hey!
I won't lie, I did run around the comic shop
Exactly.
today going, what's that one? I don't care. What's that one? That's mildly interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is 19, this is another story arc, part 1 of 2. We won't give too much away here, but it's kind of the back to the almost classic Batman aesthetic. There's a mystery, he needs to go out and solve it, catch the bad guy. Same as back when. And Dav, what did you think of it?
I enjoyed it. Then again, I'm highly enjoying a lot of Snyder's Batman work as well as his other work for DC and the like. I think 19 starts off strongly, it hooks you in nicely.
Yeah.
If you've been around the Bat block as much as some of us have already, you might already get an alluding to where he's going with it, but still well paced, well written, nicely done. Deals with a lot of, it's like some old lore issues. I mean, if you listen to any interviews that Snyder's done, particularly, I'd highly recommend his podcast with Kevin Smith, Fat Man on Batman, does a great interview. You can tell that he's a writer who puts labour into his love into his labour, whichever way you look at it. He does his research into anything, whether it's plot devices or even just, Bat mythos stuff, like from canon or stuff. I'm looking forward to see where he goes with it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember reading, I think, issue 16, the first of the Death of the Family storyline. I think it was 16.
13 was the first Death
Was
of
it
the Family.
13?
Batman 13.
So long ago.
Sold out, third printings.
Yeah, it was. And I remember him having, callbacks to issue 1 of Batman. Like, he is one of his guys who does his research, he knows what he's writing about, and I think that shone in this book. Capullo's artwork, as per usual, is fantastic.
Yeah.
He just draws everything as well as he always has. And I think what surprised me the most was the backup issue.
Yeah,
because I wasn't
becoming a constant, really.
It is, and it's written by James Tyrion, is it?
I always say Tinian.
We can go with that.
Yeah, Tinian the 4th.
Yeah, and Alex Maleev doing the backup art again, and I almost enjoyed that more. I think it was back to that kind of classic, they don't need to put who's going to be guest appearing on the front, it's just like, it's there, and you're reading it and you go, oh, it's, such and such, how fantastic.
That's, obviously we don't want to give away too much and everything, and I fear that it was a bit of a, not in the backup story, the main story, a bit of a throwaway use of a character, but I was still chuffed to see a love or hate sort of like villain from Batman's old 80s days and stuff.
I could tell he was one of those characters, I have no knowledge.
Have you ever read? Well, in that case, hopefully, the people who know it will get this, but the people who don't know it's not a spoiler at all. Track down a copy of Batman Year 2, and you'll see what I mean. It's a Marmite one, people love it or hate it, but I remember reading that one as a kid and thinking, this is brilliant! So I'm always going to be biased towards Year 2, but that's what I'd say for that.
Fantastic. So I'd say Batman 19, again, is just continuing Snyder's amazing run on the Batman comics. So the next book we're going to talk about is something that I have never heard of, and as I said last week with Charlie, we like to give the guests a book, say give this, tell me what to read, and you picked X. Now, for those who have never heard of X, why don't you explain a little bit about X?
I just think serendipity has timed it all perfectly. The fact that the one I get to bring to the show is just, in one sense, another hit of pure nostalgia for me, but just also awesomeness. X was basically during the early to mid 90s, 92 I believe, or 94 was when X first made his proper solo comic appearance. He's a vigilante, anti-hero, but he is just so much darker than Batman because he's pretty much got no moral barometer. He has no qualms about killing. He doesn't kill right away, that's one of his things, but he's not afraid to kill. He overwatches this. If you think Gotham is, as a hive of scum and villainy, then
Arcadia.
Don't go to Arcadia.
Yeah.
Exactly. Arcadia has it in spades over Gotham. We're talking the worst parts of every trans-metropolitan city sort of like style, and therefore you need a character that's as dark to reflect that and take out the trash, and that's what X is. And I'm just chuffed that a while back in Dark Horse Presents they said, we're bringing X back, just like they brought Ghost back. Kelly Sue DeConnick, she's been writing the Ghost review.
Oh yes, I think we talked about issue 1 of that on the show.
Yeah,
That's
I'm pretty sure I recall that one. Yeah.
And I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, Ghost was another. I used to read a lot of Dark Horse characters when, back in the 90s, so I was still essentially a kid, and I feel old now for saying that. But no, I used to love Ghost and stuff, and X was just X was my forefront Dark Horse title.
Yeah.
I loved the guy, I drew him and stuff like that. Granted, some people might just throw away, he looks like a bondage gimp, but sort of like, because he's got the padlock around his neck for the cape and everything like that. But
which, hey, smart, because most of the time I look at comic book characters and I'm like, how was his cape attached?
Yeah,
now you know, with a big collar and padlock.
So yeah, but put those, prejudice views aside of what his outfit is, and one of the nice little things I always thought was funny, if you look carefully, almost like Bryan Singer's first X-Men film, how many X's can you spot? On Professor X's wheels, on the doors, just like X's costume with the bootlaces and almost the see, this is going to make him sound more like a bondage and everything, but he's almost got sort of the little corset, sort of like girdle thing going on with more of the X's, but still, how many X's does X have on him?
Yeah.
But the villains often refer to him as the X Killer, which at one point makes me just think, he goes around killing people's former lovers? No, he's just X, but it's hard to refer to someone as
She
X.
broke my heart, I'll break her skull! X.
And one of the things that, like I was saying, he's always not ready to jump the gun and kill someone. One of the classic lines from his first run and everything like that is, the first mark is a warning, the second mark is death. And that was it. I mean, I was hooked on X from, like I said, the get-go. I thought he had a great dark aesthetic, he had a dark demeanour, and he's incredibly steeped in mystery. You'd never really get much about him in any of his runs. You don't know whether he's got this ridiculous healing factor because he's been shot in the head once. It sometimes gets alluded to that he might have some kind of alien connection, which just throws suspension of disbelief right out the window. But that never really gets concreted or anything like that. And I'm so glad to see the guy back. It's only, issue 0 and then 1 to 4, so technically a 5-issue mini. But it's only a mini-series, and it's Zwazinski, not Straczynski. It's not the guy that wrote Babylon 5, it's the other Wazinski type of guy.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, and I'm just so chuffed to see him back.
And you enjoyed the book?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought, because within the first few pages you get these beautiful panels of him just taking no shit and doing what he does. People who don't have any idea who X is can jump right into this book and get an idea for him.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not really a spoiler, but in the original series he wasn't necessarily that much a fan of swords and blades, whereas in this one it's this sort of like he can use anything he wants to.
Yeah.
And he did back in the day. I mean, there was sorry, I'm rambling again. But one of my favourite sequences from the original X run was, I think it was issue 2 or something like that. He was fighting this guy wrapped in bandages called Screech or Scream, who could talk to inanimate objects like lampposts and bottles, and they talked back.
Amazing.
Which in a sense,
love comic books.
It's almost like a precursor for Brian K. Vaughan's Ex Machina, where obviously the great machine can only talk to technology, whereas Screech or whatever his name is could talk to anything.
There was chairs,
anything.
glasses. buzzers.
He mistakes X for the phone company, and the lamppost tells him to run, and so he's running, going, "I'll never pay the bill." But then X just takes up this whole bar of people, and he shoots all the bottles, and Screech gets covered in all this flammable liquid, and he's got the match, and he's there going, "I could do it, but you get the first mark. Second mark is death," and then he walks off. And that one always stuck with me. It's like, oh, you could have been burned.
X. Yeah, no, he's a very dramatic character in this.
He is, but with very little dialogue.
And I'm a fan of that. I like the fact that the whole book is basically told from the point of view of the villains and your main mobster types. And it really is like a Batman book dialed up to 20 in the violence scale. It is ridiculously violent in this book. This is definitely not one for the kids or the easily squeamish,
and it's different from a lot of Dark Horse's canon material.
It is, yeah.
Some people would read that and think it's an Avatar book.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of the Black Beetle in this kind of pulp noirish aesthetic.
The art style,
and really in the art style, but just completely amped up to 10. So I mean, I think I agree with basically what you're saying. I think it's great that new audiences can jump on this character, and it's cool to see them reviving characters like this.
I mean, I'll go on record as well, and in the earlier series it was never as graphic as that. It got pretty graphic, but just the first Zero issue they're going, have some of this.
Yeah. And if it's 1 to 5, I'm definitely more inclined to pick it up because I love a mini-series.
And as soon as it's in trade, I will push it to heaven and back.
Yeah.
Until it's no longer in print and becomes an X title.
Hey! Puns! We use puns here.
Onwards and upwards.
Yes. Brilliant. Right, so the last book we have to talk about today is IDW's The Colonized Zombies vs. Aliens, number 1. We were originally scheduled to talk about Little Batman. Oh no, Batman Little Gotham. Which, I won't lie, I had a flick through, but it's adorable. However, having said that, I saw this on the shelf, and with a cover like that, and a title that infers zombies versus aliens, you have to pick it up.
Oh, of course.
And you have to talk about it. So this basically follows the story of it follows 2 stories. One of an alien race who are, for once, they're actually quite friendly.
Yeah.
They're happy. They come along, they abduct what they think are people because they're like, we need to make contact in a good way. Gets them up there, hey, friend, and it's a zombie. So that goes horribly wrong. And then on the other hand, you have this almost old Western village. It's set in the here and now.
I'd say yes.
But they've gone off the grid. They're trying to be self-sustaining. It's called Carbon Falls, the place where they live.
Because they want to reduce their footprint.
Fair
play to you.
Yes, I mean, hey, good message. Good message. And they find crashed alien ship, and there's conflicts in the group. You've got your rednecks, you've got your environmentalists. It's all crazy, and then zombies happen, and it's all crazy.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
What did you think of this book? It's by Chris Ryall and Drew Moss, who I can honestly say I've never heard of before. I know
some of their work, but I couldn't obviously go around. I feel like I've rambled enough already, so I don't want to ramble about anyone else too much. But I really enjoyed it. It was a nice sort of like curveball to be thrown at me when you suggested it and stuff. It's light-hearted. It's got some nice little comedic senses to it. I found the artwork's gorgeous and engaging. I thought it was a good narrative. Good pace. It's not overly comedic, so it's not it's not purely a comedy book. It's just got some tongue-in-cheek humour and some nice references here and there. The human characters are nice and strong. You got like the whole reducing carbon footprint. Got some nice little morals and messages in there, but it's not afraid to be like a typical zombie type flick or whatever. Go there's gore and stuff, and I look forward to seeing where it goes because a lot of the IDW titles, as good as they are, there isn't anything that's really got this sense of humour to it.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see a zombie book with some more of a sense of humour because there's so much Walking Dead and other things like that. As good as they are, they're still being all sort of like almost zombie approach to zombies. Are just like
the kind of standard the way you look at zombies.
Survival horror type.
I mean, this is something a bit different for IDW as far as I'm aware, because the majority of their content is, licensed material. It's the Star Treks, the Ninja Turtles,
Mars
Doctor
Attacks.
Who, Mars Attacks, which I almost thought that's what this was.
Yeah, it's nice to see almost a Mars Attacks sense of humour type thing, but a creator-owned property rather than a license that they acquired.
Yeah, and it's so much better seeing these kind of creator-owned books and indie titles, be good and break the stereotype of just like, the only good indie books you're gonna get are from Image Comics, like that's the only place you can go. Having said that, they're fantastic, and I'm buying like every book they bring out.
And have you read Saga 12 yet?
I'm not. You know what? I was in the shop. Charlie, who was on last week, he came up to me and he goes, "Look at the first page." And I was like, "Is it going to spoil anything?" And he's like, "Nah, just look at the first page."
But
it is.
The only thing I'll say is part of me was like, if we do Saga 12, that wouldn't be too bad at all, because basically I'm well chuffed for Saga 12 because my favourite character is back in full form.
Yeah. Prince
Robot the Fourth, get in. What a guy. Or a machine, or whatever you want to call him.
Machine guy.
He's great. but Image, as we were saying.
Yeah, no, so it's really good to see the kind of indie comics outside of Image, especially this. It was absolutely fantastic, and I highly recommend you go and pick it up. So, brilliant week in comics. If there's anything that you read that we didn't, leave some comments down below, because you know what happens if you leave comments there? You can win a comic book. You can win a mystery book, which by the way...
That's a nice angle. I do like that.
Yeah, I think it's quite good. And the winner of last week's book, which was Thanos Rising, you are here. Congratulations to you, sir or madam. Check your inbox for that. It'll be in there. And yeah, as I said, if you want your chance to win a book this week, mystery book, leave comments down below. We will pick one at random and you will get a book. Also, do not forget to follow us on Twitter at Comic Book Show 1. We are fantastic, as you know. We are the preem to be looking at on Twitter, maybe. I don't know. And you do not have an online presence, do you? You are...
I'm a Luddite, essentially, by nature. I'm not technophobic, I just don't get along with technology that well.
Skynet.
It's going to wake up. Now, the last time I was properly connected was back in the days of before MySpace. There was one called Face Party. That was one of the, that was an old school social networking site.
Can't even say I've heard of that one.
Live journal and things like it's crazy, weird times. And, Windows 98 was my old school preferred operating system. But no, basically now that I'm getting all settled and set up for Camden and comics and everything like that, once again, I'm going to pull my finger out and probably get an online presence. To aid with small press titles, writing, creativity, just everything. So I'll get out there. But Mega City Comics, we do have a Twitter feed. Yeah. We do have a Facebook page, and obviously we've got our online store. So. And you've got the shop. Go in the shop. Speak to Dav. Speak to Charlie. It's a great time had in there. It's. We do our best. It's a very friendly atmosphere, and it's a great place to go into and chat to the guys. So make sure you do that. And then join us on Wednesday, where we will not be having Who Wins at long last. We're taking a little bit of a break from that, so instead we are going to be talking about some of the books that we've been reading. And then on Friday, Dav joins me again for a big issue. We will see you then. The first mark is a warning. The second mark is death.